Sourav.
Hello.
This is the trophy you won for last year's 2018 World Billiards Championships. How do you think you're going to go this year?
Well,
Thank you.
Sourav.
hello.
This is the trophy you won for last year's 2018 World Billiards Championships. How do you think you're going to go this year?
Well, it's $1 million question, honestly, because the depth that we have in the field of billiards today is absolutely incredible. So many fantastic players all over the world, and to pick a winner is so tough. Even last year, I know what a tough time I had. Especially in the semi-final, I was down by 550 points, and to win that match, and then the finals, it's a huge deal, honestly. So to pick a winner, very tough. I think there are 5 or 6 solid players in the world today who are capable of making 500 plus breaks on their given day. So, but yeah, I'm very confident. It's winning the world title last year was a huge monkey off my back, and I come here with more confidence, and of course with having refined my skills a little more, having changed a few technical aspects of my game, I feel more confident. And as I said, it's a huge monkey off my back, and that's what sport is about. You need that one big break or a win, and a world title is a world title in any sport. So I feel good, but predicting what the result would be would something that I can't do. But yeah, I know I'm going to give it my best. And yeah, I fancy my chances, so let's see how it goes.
Great. So how are you finding the conditions in Melbourne? How are the tables running?
Honestly, if I have to speak about the city, if I have to speak about Melbourne as a city, as Australia as a country, I love coming here, and I've been coming here for the last 12, 15 years. I came here when I was very young, first time. And to be honest with you, I feel like at home in Melbourne, because I've been here so many times. I sort of know my ways around here. So that's as far as the city goes. The weather is fantastic, and I also believe that Melbourne gets voted the best city to live in for so many years and stuff like that. So and I know why it is so, because it's such a beautiful city. People are friendly, warm, and coming to the conditions, I think RACV is a fantastic club, so niche and so beautiful, and especially the billiard room that they have. To have that kind of a setup and infrastructure in a place like Melbourne, it's just fantastic. The conditions are beautiful, so many tables, they look gorgeous. So many people back home have asked me, wow, this is such a fabulous place, where is this? So I think it's great conditions, especially for billiards. All the tables have been reclothed, which is a great thing. And I think even the players are unified in their opinion that these conditions are great to make big breaks and fitting to hold a world championship.
So how do you practice billiards? Do you have a routine?
Well, yes and no. Actually, my dad, who's basically my coach, and he's also won the world title. He won the world title in 1990.
Wow.
And I've sort of grown up, being a world champion's son. It was always a very, very heavy burden on me. Finally, winning the world title last year was a big deal for us. So he's quite a stickler for discipline and on and off the table. So I don't have a set routine as such, but yes, before a big event, I do make sure that I'm giving 6 to 8 hours of solid practice, and so does my father. He makes sure that I'm not sort of meandering away from that routine. In fact, before coming here for the World Championship, we are having a big festival in India, especially in my hometown. It's called Durga Puja. It's huge. It's massive. You have millions of people thronging from different parts of the country to my city to worship this particular idol called Durga Ma, and it's huge. But unfortunately, I didn't go out anywhere. There were no plans with friends, because I knew I had to put in those hours. And once our sport is such that it's so emotionally draining, that once your practice is done, you don't have anything left in you to be going out and having a good time in the festivities. So, and especially because I play snooker as well. So for me to balance both the games, billiards, snooker, they're like chalk and cheese, honestly. I mean, to the layman, you'd probably feel that, it's pretty similar, but it's actually chalk and cheese. It's very different. So I try to juggle my time in between both. So I'm playing a little bit of snooker, a little bit of billiards. So nothing fixed as such, but yeah, I think the main thing is to put in the hours and to be match fresh. And I think it works for me, not to exhaust myself playing too many tournaments. So, well, yeah, I'm happy with the way it's going, and I'm happy with the way I train, and especially having a world champion father as my coach, it really helps. It's got its plus and the negatives as well, because he's really strict. But it's nice. It's I've got a pretty set routine that way, so I'm happy with it right now. Yeah.
So there's a $24,000 prize for a 1,000 break. Do you think that somebody will get it?
Well, to be honest with you, as I said before, there are some really solid players in fray in this championship. The conditions are absolutely fantastic. So I would be surprised, honestly, if there is a 1,000 break. But having said that, again, it's a huge milestone, 1,000 break, and that too with the balkland rule. And whoever gets that, it's going to be worthy of a lot of appreciation, because
the referee for the match, Mr. Neil Brown. Before I hand it over to the referee to start the match, could I please ask everybody, make sure your mobile phones are off or on silent, please. If a phone rings, you will be removed from the room. Okay? It's all yours, Neil. Go for it. There you go. Yeah, let him have a go.
Thanks, Sourav. Mike? No, okay. You're good to go?
Hello everyone, and welcome to the RACV Club for the first session of the first semi-final of the 2019 Endeavour Life Care World Billiards Championship. My name's David Pitt, and I'm here in commentary sitting next to Dan Lynch, our producer from Cue Ball TV, who's bringing you these great pictures of the event. We've played through the quarter-final matches this morning, and the results largely went according to the seedings. And now we've got a cracker of a semi-final here between Mike Russell, 12-time champion, and Sourav Kothari, the defending champion. In the other semi-final, we'll see David Corsier, a 3-time champion from England. He'll be playing Peter Gilchrist, a 3-time champion from Singapore. So absolutely cracking semi-final lineups here. These matches are being played over 4 hours with 2 2-hour sessions. So we're bringing you the Russell and Kothari first session now. That'll be followed in 2 hours and 15 minutes by the Corsier-Gilchrist first session. Then we're back on with the second session of this pair, and then finally finishing at 10:30 tonight, local time, the second session of the second semi-final between Corsier and Gilchrist. So Mike Russell's just broken off, the clock is running, our referee is Neil Brown, and all is in readiness for what will undoubtedly prove to be the the most exciting billiards that we've seen so far this week, and boy have we seen some exciting billiards. There's just been some fantastic billiards played at the RACV club this week. Proliferation of 400 breaks, mainly from David Coursier, but yesterday Sourav popped in a 407 himself, and this morning he had a comfortable win over Rob Hall in the quarter final. So nice opening shot there by Sourav to pot a long range white and leave Mike a double book, but he's just finished too close to the red there for comfort, so there's not a lot. He can pot this red, but he can't really do much with his white ball after that. So interesting to see how Mike Russell plays this, whether he chooses to attack it. No, he's just going to roll over to the side cushion and just leave Sourav to work out how he can progress his situation from so close to the red. It's fair to say that Sourav in the last year or two has really started to hit his straps. He's been thereabouts in world billiards for the last few years. His father, Manoj Kothari, of course, was the world amateur champion in the 90s. But Sourav last year, his performance in winning this event was quite stunning. He made a 300 break in the quarter-final, came from 500 behind against David Coursier in the semi-final, also with a 300 break, and made a 300 break in the final to win the title in Leeds for India. This year we're playing here in Melbourne, Australia at the RACV club. Only the second time that this championship has been held in Melbourne, the other time being in 1934, when Australian billiards legend Walter Lindrum defended his title against Joe Davis of England at the Flinders Street station, in the ballroom in the Flinders Street station. Just seeing a little safety exchange here at the beginning of the game, both players showing each other a lot of respect, as they should, because they're both world champions and both capable of making enormous breaks. Mike Russell has been past the 1,000 mark on many a time, but he's done it in competition. He's played a beautiful attempt there at a 4-cushion cannon, just missing by a small margin. When you consider how big these tables are, 12 feet by 6 feet, and how small the balls are, 2 1/16 inches, it's very easy for the balls to just slip by after that ball travelled over 20 feet to get to its target. So Sourav got the balls lined up here, so it's not completely straightforward, the shot he's got. You may be able to conjure up a run through an off or a cannon. It's hard to say what he's going to be doing from this scenario. Ooh. Quite a good attempt at a cannon. That was a difficult shot with the jaw was probably in the way of the direct shot, so he just had to play below the middle pocket with a little bit of side to try and bring that shot back. Didn't quite get there, but he's left now Mike an opening where he can pot the red, bring himself across for a cannon off the yellow off the top cushion, and potentially with a nice contact on the red here, he'll be in position. But at this point of the game, he won't be looking to do anything fancy in terms of contact. He'll just be happy to hit that red full, leave himself with both the balls not quite in front of him, but close together enough to be able to play this screw cannon, sending the red. Oh, very pretty shot that. Tried to send that red over the middle pocket, but he's hit it too hard. Just left himself a slightly awkward shot here. I have to play this as a soft screw. And he's hit that nicely. Got a good full contact on the red, and left himself a pot red. So first blood to Mike Russell here, but he's just got himself out of position here. He's too wide on the red. He's going to have to play a really big, powerful forcing shot off the red. That's a great shot. His cue was nearly in line with the balk line there. That's a shot of real power. I'm delighted to be joined in commentary now. I mentioned Walter Lindrum a moment ago, and I'm delighted to be joined in commentary now by Walter Lindrum's biographer, one of the world's leading billiards historians, along with Clive Everton and Peter Ainsworth, and the author of the biography, Walter Lindrum, Billiards Phenomenon, Andrew Ricketts. Andrew, welcome to the commentary chair.
Thanks, David. It's a pleasure to be here.
So Andrew, well, you've just arrived yesterday, but we've been here all week at the RACV Club. We've seen some fantastic billiards. What's your impression of the setup here at RACV?
Oh, very impressive. It's wonderful to see in the era we are now, where full-size billiard tables are getting very scarce, to have such a beautiful setup with 8 tables. It's probably the nicest setup I've ever seen.
Now that's high praise indeed, Andrew. And tell me what do you think of this particular table, this Tulip Wood Duke of Edinburgh model that we're looking at?
I'm pretty biased. I don't know whether I should start talking about this, but it's very personal. This table, Tulip Wood's a lovely Queensland timber, rainforest timber. And this table number, made by Alcock's, one of the foremost table makers in Australia, if not the world, it's table number 1842. They numbered them from when they were made. It's the way things are. I've got table 1841 in my billiard room back in country New South Wales, also made out of Queensland tulip wood. So this is really a nice feeling for me.
So Andrew and the RACV Club have these very rare twinned, consecutively numbered Alcock and Co Duke of Edinburgh tables, manufactured around about the 1880s, and they really are. It's a beautiful table. This playing beautifully too. Alcock's have remaining here at the RACV Club. They've been installed the tables at the club in 1904, and they've been servicing them ever since. And this week they've re-rubbered 5 of the tables, including this one. New strawn superfine cloth on the beds, and strawn 6811 30 ounce cloth on the cushions. And the players have been full of praise for the playing conditions here.
Talk about playing beautifully. I caught a little bit of Mike Russell against Matthew Bolton earlier, and I haven't seen Mike Russell play since 2002 when he played in Sydney. But the way he was starting to play towards the end of that match, he's getting himself in very good form, and I think I haven't seen the other 3 semi-finalists in action as yet, but Mike's going to take some beating if he keeps going the way he is.
I think you're absolutely right there, Andrew. It's fair to say that Mike was a little bit scratchy earlier in the week. He had a little bit of difficulty adjusting to this table as opposed to the others. He felt that although this is a really uniform set of tables where, as you go from one table to the other, they all play very similarly, but this one he felt was just playing a little bit more heavily than the others, and so it's just taking him a little bit of time to make that adjustment. But in the quarter-final this morning against Matthew, he played beautifully. 250 break early on the piece. Matthew fought back well and got over 100 in front, but then a 377 by Mike to take him to a lead of over 200 really was the defining moment in that match.
One of the interesting things about Mike is you look at him and he's a big man, but his touch and finesse belies a big man. He's got absolutely beautiful touch, very good judgment.
You could see that on the previous cannon he played off the top cushion, where his pace was just perfect to just land on the yellow and only move it half an inch or so. We haven't yet metricated in our commentary here. We're still using the old imperial measures, but yeah, beautiful touch control. Soft screw here, just widening the angle so you can repeat that cannon off the top cushion in this, what's known as the floating white top of the table position. Great camera work here from Dan Lynch on this side angle, where you can see the spin that the players are putting on the balls. Mike's just potting this one cushion first to get a little bit of an angle to come out again. Nice shot that. Quite a rare stun cushion first shot, I think. I think he played that cushion first. No, he's just going to move that, move the white back down towards the top cushion, leaving himself a pot red. Not ideal. He'd prefer not to be using the rest here, but no problems at all with this one. And just a distraction there as somebody dared to cough or something similar. Just sizing up this situation, he's just not 100% happy with this angle. Perhaps he's just thinking about how he's going to bring the white back off the top cushion closer to the spot. He's done that successfully. A little bit straight here, but nothing that causes a problem. Too straight really to create an angle to come out to another pot, so he's just rolled that in, left a cross loser, which will put the red up over the middle pocket, pot the red and come straight back down to the top, so just a little break away from the top of the table. But one of the hallmarks of top billiard players is that they're not scared to go away from the top if that's what's called for. A lot of people learning top of the table think they have to stay there the whole time, and I've just, of course, not been paying attention properly because he did need to cross the balk line there on 92. The rules require you to cross the balk line between 80 and 100 in every break. Oh, lovely shot, lovely kiss cannon there to recover what was an awkward position. So 97 to go, and first blood to Mike Russell.
97.
Of course, in a 4-hour match like this, you know, there's plenty of time for each player to have any number of chances to do their stuff. So it's not really, you know, how you start off. It's nice to start well, but you know, Sourav will be getting you know, plenty of chances in this game. Just got inside the red a bit there, Mike. You would prefer to knock the red over the pocket, but simple enough run through here, which will gather the balls together. Just doesn't want that jaw. He's left himself a bit of a smother. Delicate cushion cannon here, which requires a little bit of right hand side just to hold the red up. That's a beautiful shot. Beautiful shot. So Andrew, you're down in Melbourne for the 3 days remaining of the championship then?
Yeah. Special trip down to see it. I haven't seen any high-class billiards for a while, and it's a joy to watch.
Well, it doesn't get any higher class than this. We've had 17 of the top 20 in the world here this week at RACV. You know, some of the big names in world billiards didn't make it through to the semis and even the last 8. Pankaj Advani of India was knocked out by his countrymen in the last 16. In fact, Pankaj lost 2 matches yesterday. He lost in the round robin section to David Corsia, and then he lost in the last 16. So I think it would be a long, long time since Pankaj Advani lost 2 matches in one day. Pankaj, you know, fresh from a win in a major in the IBSF World 150 Up Championship in Myanmar. He played beautifully this week. He made a 333 in one of his games, and a lot of other breaks, and he really looked to be in very, very good nick. Beautiful, soft hitter of the ball, but he's out now, and we've got four of the biggest names in world billiards in the semis. You know, the players in the semi-finals have won.
Oh dear.
19 world championships. Surprising missing a slow red off the spot. You don't expect to see these players missing those. I did notice Mike missed, one or two of those against Matthew Bolton in the quarterfinal this morning. But yeah, that definitely is a surprise. That. So that was a break of around 120 there for Mike to open his account. Now Sourav's got his chance to make his mark. Sourav just working the red ball over the middle pocket there with a sequence of losers. He'll now playing off into the middle pocket and drop the red down towards the top cushion, but not on the top cushion, leaving himself a shortish cannon to gather the balls at the somewhere in the vicinity of the top rail. So,
17.
Yep. So you're never really sure where the balls are going to finish in that type of cannon. Sometimes they'll finish just beautifully right in front of you. Other times they'll finish a little bit awkward, like this. Sourav's got to play. You had a look at the thin in off the white, which he didn't fancy. It's probably not on. Now he's got to play a thin cannon with the long equipment off the red, possibly with a bit of right-hand side to check his ball up off the top cushion and bring it back towards the white. And he's actually reaching out to do this rather than get the long stuff out. It's really not a comfortable position here. The rules require him to have 1 foot on the floor for this shot. So it's a very easy shot if you just jump up on the table and play your shot, but made much more difficult by the rule, which requires you to have 1 foot on the floor.
Very indecisive on this one. This is shot to play off the red. The essence of it is to hit that white very gently to leave it, and within 2 or 3 shots he should be able to get across to the left-hand side of the table, the right-hand side as we're looking at it, to play off that white back onto the red and
change his shot here. He's going to play a screw cannon, pushing the red up and down the table. So that's a little bit of a surprise, but it was in a sense a safety first shot, in the sense that he couldn't really miss that shot. But where the ball's finished was entirely problematic. So he's now left himself a difficult shot, and he's played that pretty nicely. Hit the red full, which would have been his primary objective, and he's left both balls in front of him. So that's actually
turned out quite well.
Turned out well, yeah. One of the things we've had here at RACV this week, Andrew, is terrific crowds. For the final of the World Open on Monday night, we had a crowd of over 120 in. This is an all-ticketed event, so people are paying for their tickets. We've had advanced bookings, which opened about 3 months ago, and we sold out the sessions of the final and the later sessions of the semi-final about 3 months ago. We've installed tiered seating around this show table in the pit area at the RACV, and we can fit in around about 100 spectators comfortably seated with quite a few more standing or sitting on stools. So we're looking to see some, really pleasing crowds to come along and see the best players in the world playing billiards, and rare, as I said before, a rare opportunity for people in Melbourne to see this top class, the best players in the world playing here. So a nice little sequence there by Sourav, just pushing the red into the middle of the table. He's got enough the white there if he wants it. Could pot the red, but would possibly have to use the rest for that. So safety would dictate that he should go in off the white here, which he's doing.
And push that white up near the spot. He should be able to.
Yeah, he's done exactly that, Andrew, and now leaving himself a long loser to develop the red over the centre. One of my good old mates, Leo Prendergast, was here. I haven't seen him for about 30 years. He's here this week, and he did comment to me he was surprised how many long losers these guys miss, and I agreed with him that they do miss a surprising number, and the reason is that they hardly ever play them. They're so good that they're either at the top of the table or they're using the middle pockets to score. In times past there was a lot more open billiards, or what Walter Lindrum used to call mixed billiards. But these guys wouldn't play a long loser. They'd probably only play one about every half an hour. And it's a shot that, if you're not playing it frequently, you can just sort of lose the feel for it a bit, because it does have to be spotted very accurately. You have to spot your cue ball and the D very accurately, and then you have to hit the ball sweetly, to cause it to go in a raking motion, towards the top pocket. So just brought the red around off it, over the middle pocket and potted. He would have preferred to have gone a bit further on that pot red. He's now going to have to just go up to play a cannon off the top cushion. So fantastic support this tournament has had from a number of people and our sponsors, Endeavour Life Care, who are furniture suppliers into various forms of aged care homes. The RACY Club, who've been wonderful supporters of this tournament. They've got right behind the event. They've allowed us to play in their beautiful billiards room. They've refurbished their tables for the event. All the players are staying here at the club, as are the referees. And so it's a real feature event in the life of the club, and of course for the 32,000 members of this club, it's an opportunity for them to come and watch these top billiards players. And in fact, the vast majority of our advanced sales came from RACV club members when we offered a special rate for those members, which they absolutely lapped up. So Sourav here, just in perfect position, bounce up slowly. As Walter Lindrum said, bounce that one quietly off the side cushion, and then just cannon white to red to bring the white back towards the spot and leave a pot red. So the classic recovery shot at floating white.
63.
Well, he's got the balls in perfect position. It now becomes a matter of sheer composure and concentration. The break could end in 10 or 20 points, and it could end in 310 or 20 points.
That's right. Yes, this is a game of intense concentration, and for these guys to make these big breaks, they're playing at around about 5 or 6 minutes to 100. Some of them can go a little bit quicker than that at around 4.5 minutes to 100. Oh, he's just got lucky there. I don't think he intended to kiss that white on the way down, but he's just come past the white and left himself a clear shot. It's interesting. It's possible that he actually played it like that, Andrew. We can't be sure from this angle what his thinking was.
I think you were right, David. He had a little stroke of luck there.
Yeah. So there's a fantastic innovation here at the Endeavour Life Care World Championship this year. There's a $24,000 bonus for 1,000 breaks. So it's a little bit like a hole-in-one prize in golf. Our underwriters have arranged this, and any player that makes 1,000 break, $24,000 prize, which exceeds the prize money for the tournament. So on 86 there, Sourav was required to cross the balk line under the balk line rule, which he's done. He's just played that beautifully, got a nice angle there, and he's straight back in at the top. So it's actually the operation of the balk line rule in this tournament that's going to make it quite difficult for these players to make 1,000 break. No one has actually done that under the current balk line rules, the highest being in the 950s by Mike Russell. That was 18 years ago. So 1,000 breaks is probably the rarest feat in billiards, and there's only a small number of people in the history of billiards who've made 1,000 breaks, and since World War II there's only about half a dozen or so. Remarkably, 3 of those 1,000 break players came from the same family. Fred Lindrum, Walter Lindrum's older brother, made a 1,000 break in winning the Australian Championship in 1911. Walter Lindrum, of course, had knocked up making 1,000 breaks, making over 700 or possibly even 800,000 breaks in his career. And their nephew Horace Lindrum, who was a world professional snooker champion, was also a very accomplished billiards player and made over a dozen 1,000 breaks in his career, including 3 against his uncle Fred, when he beat Fred to win the Australian Championship in 1934. All these facts come to me courtesy of Andrew Rickett's book, Walter Lindrum's Billiards Phenomenon, which is the Bible for any lover of billiards who wants to learn a bit about the history of the game, particularly the game in Australia, and particularly of the Lindrum family, and very particularly of Walter Lindrum. But Andrew, I believe in the last few years you've been working on another book on Walter Lindrum. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's been actually a bit more than a few years.
Decades?
That's closer to the truth. I'm now up to almost 20 years, and people will say, what? It doesn't take that long to write a book, but it's been going a long, long time, and the reason being it's a labour of love, and I have a business to run, and the labour of love only happens when I can spare a bit of time. But no, it's a strange situation to be in, because when I wrote the first book, and that came out in 1982, that was the end of my involvement, or that type of involvement with the Lindrum name. So I thought. And eventually I started to find out more tidbits of information and so on, and it got to the stage I thought, there's you could call it an update, but in some ways I don't. Well, just interrupt in a minute. He's got himself in a spot of bother here. Might be able to get it off the top cushion with a lot of left-hand side. He's done well, but it's still, again, you'll come off 2 cushions again with a lot of right-hand side here to try and get round on the red. That's my forecast anyway. I may well be proven wrong.
No, I think you're absolutely right, Andrew. But this is a difficult shot. He's just going to make sure the white. Oh no, he's found a thinning off. It's just wasn't there, was it? It had to be as fine as possible. 928 break to Sourav there, negating Mike's break earlier, and essentially it's even Stevens at this about half an hour into this 4-hour match. So to go back to your, that's a great shot.
Great shot to keep
to keep the white out.
Wide out, but
Unfortunately,
it's only for
a lot of good.
the one shot. He's probably hoping for a little bit of luck off the jaws to get the white, the object ball out, but it didn't happen.
Never mind. Pot the white, safety first. He'll just put both balls behind the baulk line and leaving them safe. So very important, for a club player watching this match to notice that Mike Russell took as much time on that apparently simple safety shot as he would have on a difficult pot. And the reason being is that he wanted to make sure he executed that to leave himself a favourable position where he had a little bit of where he could pot the red and have a little bit of an angle to come up the table towards the top of the table, or possibly to leave himself over here where he is now for in off the yellow. So just interesting to see that he took as much care on that very straightforward looking safety shot. I mean, all he had to do was hit them and they would have both gone into baulk, but he took as much time on that. So just a nice shot there, a little bit of side to just check the ball off the cushion. He's actually done that a bit too much and now has to play this as a screwing off. Yeah, beautiful cue ball control there by Mike Russell. Screwing that at essentially 90 degrees to bring the white out into the centre of the table. Sorry, Andrew.
He's done well. He should be back at the top within 2 or 3 shots. Object here is to set the... Oops, oh dear. He's brought me undone again, David.
Yes, that's 2 in a row. Yes,
I think
amazing miss there from Mike Russell. He was trying to play that as a thick run through to hold the yellow on the correct line to leave it for a drop cannon, but he just did it too thick. The yellow's actually in perfect position, but
Mike's looking
too
to...
He's
Mike's looking to the heavens and realising he's just missed a golden opportunity to carry on.
So this looks a bit wide. I think Sourav may have to play that as a...
That's a nice shot.
Yeah, it's a nice shot, that, yeah.
But I think, David, I'm going to give up forecasting anything on this match. I'm a pretty bad judge.
Well, Andrew, that's a lesson I learned myself. I've been doing this commentary now for 2 or 3 years in billiards, and early in the piece I realised that all you can do is make a mug of yourself by trying to forecast. It's much safer to describe the shot after they've played it than it is to try and predict what they're going to do.
Are you saying hindsight's a wonderful thing, David?
It is a wonderful thing, yeah. The vicissitudes of drop cannons, they can just go nasty on you, and that one certainly has. This is a very difficult shot here. If the white wasn't there, it's a very straightforward shot, but with the white there, this is and playing with a raised cue. Oh, what a wonderful pot that was.
Done well.
That was a very good pot. Not only did he get the pot, but he hit it sufficiently hard. He didn't just baby the ball into the pocket. He hit it hard enough for his ball to come out off the cushion, leaving himself an angle. Not quite as much angle as he would have liked. He would prefer the angle here to go in off this red, which he still can do, but it's pretty narrow. So interesting to see what he does here. He might have enough. Yeah, he's thinking about taking this one off the cannon off the top cushion, but
it's a challenging shot. Has to get everything absolutely right to score it and maintain position. We're gone again, David. Gone again.
Good pot. Very good pot. Just leaving us.
Good percentage plays has turned out, because now he should be able to play the red and have position again to carry on.
You notice there, Andrew, he hit that red a bit thick, and that was actually a beautiful shot. In hitting it thick, he's pushed it across to the other side of the white. Very good shot that, to leave himself a cannon coming back down.
A little bit tricky this one too, because he has to get nice contact on that white to push it over in behind the spot. He's done well.
He's done that well, but again, not always predictable where the balls are going to go. He's got the white absolutely correct. He's got the The other two balls, are close together at the top of the table, but he just left them back to front.
There's a
So he's
nice positional shot here if he goes for it.
yeah.
Double the red down the table, bring it back up, score the cannon.
Yeah, so this is a touch
He's
shot.
gone very well.
He needs a draw here,
He's
but he
got a
doesn't
pot.
want it to go in. You could classify that as unlucky, but really for a player of this class, it's actually a bad shot because that red was travelling rather too quickly then. Oh, missed cue.
I think
So even world champions missed cue, which is a great comfort to all the club players who are watching, isn't it, Andrew? I think he was trying to play a screw cannon from the white to the red. Difficult shot, but Mike Russell back in. So you're talking about your second book, Andrew, and what's the focus of that book?
Well, putting it in a long-term perspective, I was a whole 29 years old when the first book was finished and published, and I'm now in my latter 60s, so it's a long time since the other book, and with the benefit of I suppose many more years of living and I guess a broader perspective on life and what people like to read about. The focus of this book is to try and convey what Walter Lindrum was really like, how he thought about the game, how he thought about life in general and so on. It's intended to be a very personal story, and the goal is that when you finish reading the book, you'll actually feel like you know as well as you can who and what Walter Lindrum was. And one of the things that's happened, a lot of information wasn't available. With newer technology, I'm able to access a lot more newspapers. Wonderful National Library site called Trove, which came about, I think, as a bicentennial project in 1988, and there's been literally hundreds of newspapers digitised, so that if you want to search a subject, whether it's Lindrum or whether it's dahlias or whether it's honeybees or whatever, just go on the Trove site and type in the relevant words and you can find out a wealth of information. So that's become available and I can assure you, has made life much, much easier for researchers.
It's interesting, Andrew. When you wrote the first book, you were able to interview a number of people who knew Walter Lindrum, and some of whom knew Walter Lindrum very well. So that was a great source of information about Walter Lindrum, the man, for you. Just a little bit thick, a little bit thin on that one, I think, Mike Russell, or possibly he didn't have enough side on it. So it was a pretty straightforward shot for him. He had a big ball to hit with the red, and just breaking down unexpectedly. This is not Mike Russell the machine that we've seen over the years. Nice shot there by Sourav. Oh, he doesn't want a kiss.
Could have done without the kiss.
Yeah, without the kiss, that red would have been right over the corner pocket. But
bit of a challenge here.
Yeah, very difficult. Yeah. So with the first book, there was a number of people that you interviewed then or were able to speak to who knew Walter Lindrum well. Nowadays, of course, nearly all those people are dead, and you're reliant more on the archival information in Trove and various websites and research to do that. Oh, that's a lovely shot across the table. In a sense, it would have been easier for you to write the books in the opposite order, because all the statistical information, which forms a large part of your first book, is available today. But the personal touch of speaking to the people who knew Lindrum is you now can't do that. So it makes it a little bit more difficult to write the personal book from archival sources. Is that a fair comment?
Yes and no. As mentioned earlier, I've been going on 20 years, and people have passed away in that 20 years, but I've spoken to quite a few, and some of them 10 or 15 years or so ago, And there's still people around. I met a fellow here yesterday by the name of Hal Peck, who's 95 years of age. And
yes, I haven't met Hal, but I know of him. Yeah.
He knew Walter, and marked for him in some of Walter's exhibitions. So it's not that big a drama in a way, because by the time you add together the people I spoke to the first time round and the ones that I've discovered over the last 20 years, and some of them I've only spoken to in the last 6 months or so. And they're all older people. No one's under 70 or 80 or older. But there's still a few floating around, and you inevitably pick up tidbits of information that by themselves aren't necessarily significant, but when you're tied in with other tidbits of information, you get a broader picture and a broader understanding, and things fall into place. So
for those of you that may not have heard of Walter Lindrum, or may not be aware of his feats, Walter Lindrum was the great Australian billiard champion in the 1920s and 30s, who really set the world on fire in billiards with his tremendous skills and rate of scoring. He developed as a youngster here in Australia, played here for a long time, developing his skills. Played against some of the leading English professionals who came out here, and he learnt the nursery canon and other parts of the game from that. When he finally did go to England in the late 20s, he caused an absolute sensation by taking on and beating the very top English professionals, and not just beating them, but beating them, giving them a start. It was an extraordinary effort. He made over 50,000 breaks in his first tour of England, and broke the world record 3 times in a short space of time, and just really caused, as the title of the book says, he was a phenomenon.
Yeah, there's lots of words can be used to describe him, David. A genius is one that's said, but Sidney Lee, some people remember him, used to be pot black on referee, the wonderful UK program. Said even the word genius isn't enough. It's almost impossible to describe how extreme his talent was.
Just to give our viewers, our listeners and viewers, some idea of some of his phenomenal records, I've got a little extract from our excellent program that we have here, which was put together by Don Richter and other members of our organising committee here. But just to pick out, 3 extraordinary highlights of Walter Lindrum's career. The first one I've got here, against Clark McConaughey of New Zealand, himself a great 1,000 break player and the first man to make consecutive 1,000 breaks. Walter Lindrum, playing I believe at Southampton, made breaks of 1,000 in 5 consecutive sessions. Absolutely extraordinary. These people playing here would be happy if they made a 1,000 break very happy indeed if they made a 1,000 break in 5 consecutive years. But he did it in 2.5 days. 1,516, 1,412, 1,054, 1,875 and 1,052. In those days they played 2 or 2.5 hour sessions, so that was wonderful. Then later on in a very famous tournament for the famous Gold Cup. What was the name of that cup, Andrew?
Oh yeah, the News of the World
Gold Cup
tournament.
Tournament where Lindrum was given 7,000 start to the top English professionals, including Joe Davis, the world champion. He's playing Tom Newman in that match, giving him 7,000 start. Tom made a good start and was actually more than 7,000 in front. Lindrum reeled off consecutive breaks of 2,835, 451, 1,796 and 2,583 against Tom Newman. So nearly 8,000 points in 4 visits. Just an extraordinary feat of scoring. And then later, of course, his world record 4,137 against Joe Davis. So that's just a little snippet of some of Walter Lindrum's incredible scoring records. He broke something like 57 world records in his career, and I think it's fair to say that every single one of those records still stands today. A wonderful tribute to Lindrum from Willie Smith, who was himself a three-time world champion and a holder of the world record break of 2,743 before Lindrum broke it. He wrote, "Lindrum is the super cannon player to an extent which makes the limit of 35 cannons ball to ball look ridiculous. The cushion is a fourth ball to Lindrum. He is never in danger of losing position through having to play onto a cushion first. He makes his contact as easy as playing directly onto the ball. With his all-round skill, he could beat us all practically as he likes." So I think one of the important things to think about in that quote, Andrew, is the recognition of Lindrum's all-round skill. These days, I think there's a bit of a tendency for people to dismiss Walter Lindrum as an all-round, as a nursery cannon specialist, and that's how he scored all his points. Certainly true that he scored, very heavily with nursery cannons, probably around 60% of his points, but people also need to realise that he made an 1800 break just off the red, playing against, I think, Claude Faulkner. So his red ball play was peerless, and of course his top of the table play. He probably didn't make huge breaks at top of the table exclusively because he just viewed top of the table as the mechanism to transfer to nursery cannons, which is a mode of play that's essentially been legislated out of the game today.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, David. People, as soon as you mention the name Walter Lindrum, people say, "Oh yeah, the cannon king," or the cannon player. But before he was a cannon player, I make an analogy. Billiards there's three aspects to it, and it's a bit like driving a motor car. First gear in the motor cannon is the losing hazard or the in-off game. Then as your skill develops and so on, you shift up to top of the table play, second gear. Third gear is nursery cannon play. Now, before Walter mastered the nursery cannon, he conquered the other two aspects of the game well and truly. He could make 600 or 800 points, and I believe there's a possibility he made over 1,000 points strictly at top of the table without going into balk or into hand. So he mastered every aspect of the game, and he claimed himself that he could. And Walter, I suppose he was full of confidence, there's no doubt about that, but he had a quiet confidence. He was a bit like the quiet achiever, the BP man. But he claimed, and I wouldn't dare dispute it, and anyone in their right mind wouldn't dare dispute it, that he could make 1,000 plus at nursery cannons, top of the table, or the losing hazard game, exclusively without resorting to the other two. And I mean, in 1925, I think it was, against Claude Faulkner, he made 1,500 odd off the red ball after he inadvertently potted the white ball at 292 in a break of 1,879. Those 1,500 odd points, I believe, from memory, and I think my memory's right, that he only potted 2 red balls to continue on the break. It was all strictly losing hazard. Interestingly,
That's
there was
insane, isn't it? Insane.
Interestingly, a fellow by the name of Jack Oak, and he was a Herald and Weekly Times journalist, and the late Bruce Stevens told me the story, and Walter said sometime in the must have been in the 40s, and Walter said, "Oh, could you come round?" He said, "I want to test out my stamina," he said. So Jack Oak went round, I believe it was out at Kerford Road, and the Lindrum family home, where they've got a lovely billiard room out the back, still preserved. Jack went out there and he said, "Oh, could you be ball boy? I want to just play the red ball game." Now Jack, poor old Jack, He'd been a First World War veteran, and he'd had one leg. He had no artificial leg. He'd suffered a war injury, lost part of a leg. I think it was somewhere about the knee region. But you can imagine him, and anyone that's aware of the losing hazard game, off the red, can do quite a bit of walking. Well, after Walter was going for something like 2 hours on playing the losing hazard game, Jack pulled up stumps and went home. He'd had enough of it. I think he'd come to the conclusion that Walter only really wanted a ball boy so that he didn't have to fox the balls for himself.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's just an example of how good he was.
I remember when I first started playing the older players talking about Jack Oak. He used to write for the Sporting Globe, which was the known as the pink paper with the punch, which was the newspaper in Melbourne, which specialised in racing, but also in other sports as well. And billiards, which was huge in the 30s and so forth, featured often on the back page of that newspaper. And Jack Oak was the man who was the leading billiards journalist in Melbourne. So that's a phrase that you don't hear very often these days.
No, he was a very smart man too. He, oh dear. I'm glad I didn't make a prediction on that one, David. I would have come undone.
Simple screw shot into the centre there. Had to be thin. He's just hit it a little bit thick and hit the near jaw, which caused him to miss. That was a big surprise because Sourav's been playing very carefully and very solidly. He's got out to a lead of about 100, and that definitely was a lapse in concentration there.
I think it's time, David, for one of these two to really have a crack at things.
Yes, they just seem to have been going along at a fairly sedate pace, but I think you're right, Andrew. Somebody needs to put in a big break to lighten this match up. Well, just grab Peter, would you, for me? Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. So we're going to have a change in commentary now. You're going to be joined by Peter Tankard, one of the organisers of the tournament here and a leading enthusiast in the billiards world. We're also going to be joined by a two-time Australian Billiards Championship runner-up, Neil Croft, who's been kind enough to return from his holiday in Rome and various parts of Italy, especially to be here to commentate on the World Championship. So wonderful to chat to you, Andrew. Thanks for coming in to commentary, and I hope you can join us later on in the next day or two.
Yeah, that'd be great, David. Looking forward to seeing some really nice billiards.
Okay. Thank you, Andrew. David Pitt signing off.
14. Please ensure your mobiles are switched off.
Good afternoon, Peter Tankard back in the chair.
29.
Who I haven't met before, but I've heard so much about. Good afternoon.
32. 39. 42.
Good afternoon, it's Neil Croft here, joined by Peter Tankard in the commentary. Peter's just got some technical difficulties, he'll be with us shortly. At the moment we've got Sourav Kothari with a very narrow lead, Mike Russell in play on 42, and very nicely placed at the top of the table, ready to potentially make quite a big break here.
57.
Forward. And as I say that, he's proceeded to cover himself.
Dan's of the view that this mic's working.
May have got a slight kick on that one. He's walked away slightly disgusted. Referee Neil Brown has wiped the white. I think Mike will be forced into a run through here, which he's made, and kept the white beautifully just at the reverse top of the table. Looks like you're stuck with me, folks, while Peter's technical difficulties are worked out, which is a pity because I was looking forward to listening to the many varied stories that Peter has in a very broad range of knowledge of the game of billiards. Mike's attempting to manipulate the yellow to the line where he can then return it to the top.
56.
And in a couple of shots he might just be there. The white's a little bit too high up the table at the moment, but I think Mike at one stage will play a characteristic shot of his where he goes over the top of the yellow, just like that, puts it back on the line. Now pot the red and come up high into the middle pocket and correct the yellow to perfect floating white top. That particular cannon you just saw is very typical of Mike's play, and a shot that not too many others play with quite the ability that Mike does, hence why he's the best player in the last 50, 60 years. Not quite right there, but not the end of the world. Relatively low scoring so far this game. Both players feeling each other out. Sourav, as you might have seen, with a contribution of 70 recently, but missed unexpectedly to the middle pocket. Now it's Mike's turn to potentially make the first really significant contribution of this semi-final.
75.
Hasn't been at his brilliant best, Mike, so far, but
7.
he's still in the tournament at the semi-final stage, and the further he goes, the more dangerous he is. Took care of Australia's Matthew Bolton in the quarter-final, which was something of a disappointment to us Australian followers, but losing to Mike Russell is never a disgrace.
Hello.
Hopefully we've got Peter online.
Yep. Looks like we have.
Welcome,
thanks,
Peter.
Neil. Thanks, Neil.
Right,
Actually, I spoke
please.
to Mike in the bar afterwards. He was saying he was stunned how many Australians were barracking for him. And I don't know quite what to make of that. I mean, I know we haven't had Mike in this country for a long time, and we've had plenty of Matthew. So that's probably not a surprise. And I think it's fair to say that your billiards playing community is not very nationalistic. We don't mind where you come from. We just want to see the best billiards. So in terms of a spectacle, I think it's in some ways it's better for us in Australia to see the internationals. Matthew's been dominant in our national championships for perhaps the last 17 or 18 years, and I think
19 it is actually.
19, is it? Right.
2000 he won his first. He played some money in the final.
Right. Now, I've heard this story, apocryphal as it may be, that actually you retired from the game when Matthew started. Is that actually true?
It's actually very true, yeah.
Yeah. Tell us the story.
Well, I'd been playing some pretty good billiards back around mid to late 1990s and into 2000. Made a couple of finals, the second of which was against Matthew in Penrith in 2000. Matthew was just rising 21 during the tournament, and I was probably close to the peak of whatever powers I had, and made it to the final fairly comfortably. Had a couple of 200s along the way, which was big for me, and played Matthew in the final over 6 hours, and he beat me with 65 unfinished to win by just over 100, I think. I had half a dozen centuries, he had about 7 centuries. There were no big ones, but for me it was a pretty powerful performance, but it wasn't good enough. And at that stage Matthew was 20. He'd made a 300 or 400 in during the tournament, and I could just see the writing on the wall that Matthew was going to be, the player that he was, and I just actually didn't think there'd be any hope that I could ever beat him. So my goal was always to win the Australian Championship. I couldn't do that on that occasion, and I didn't think there'd ever be a better chance. And I was suitably downcast and decided, and also with Steve Mifsud floating on, I'd lost in the final of the Oceania to Steve, I think in '99, the year before, thinking I would win that, and Steve blew me off the park with a couple of big 200s. And I'd been in an era when Ganem and Collins were the dominant two players, and I'd had a lot of running second, including losing to George and David in probably, I think, 5 Victorian finals. I finally won a Victorian, beating both of them, so that was quite satisfying. But then I thought I got over the top potentially of George and was able to compete and beat David at least as often as he beat me, and David was still playing extremely well at that time. But then no sooner had I sort of got over that hurdle that I ran headlong into Matthew and Steve, and I just thought, no, I can't do this. And it's not, there's no sour grapes or anything. It was just a statement of fact. I had a young family, I had a career to try and lead, and I was 40 years of age, and I'd had a really good run over 20 years at the game, and I think I've been proven right too with Matthew's dominance, winning 17 or 18 out of 19 Australians, and the only ones he hasn't won are the ones he hasn't played in. So
yes,
but
now David will correct me if I'm wrong. Is it 16 or 17 years since Matthew has been beaten by an Australian? 15 years. Okay, I was getting ahead of myself. Rod Nelson came close one year, didn't he? Matthew had to come from behind to win that one. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. There's been some.
He's a phenomenal player, Matthew. Absolutely phenomenal.
Yes.
I'm parochially Australian, and I take what you say, Peter, and there's nothing better than watching Gilchrist and Russell and Kothari play. But I think Matthew, I'd like to see Matthew win a World Championship. So I think he's good enough. I think he deserves to.
I think he does too. There's no doubt about that. But I'm just saying that I was talking to Mike Russell in the bar afterwards, and he said he was surprised how many Australians were barracking for him. And I surmise that it might be because we're enjoying seeing the internationals being here, which is not to say we don't want to see Matthew win one. We all want to see Matthew win one. But for the billiards watching public, we have seen a lot of Matt, and we haven't seen
much of Mike.
We haven't seen much of Mike.
Is this his first trip to Australia? I think it might be.
No? I think it's at least his third. He played in Lura in 1989 and won a final against Peter Gilchrist there. And he played at Mounties in 2002, I think, David, and won that one as well. So he's had a pretty good run here in Australia. There's another stat for you. He's never been beaten in Australia.
Well, it looks likely to continue at the moment.
Well, let's see. He's got 2 big mountains to climb, i.e. the reigning world champion and the guy who's won 3 out of 4 of the last few championships, David Corsier, and of course his lifetime competitor, Peter Gilchrist. They were both in the Middlesbrough Boys League, and talking to Peter, one of his claims to fame is that he made Mike Russell cry. They were both in their early teens, and Mike was a ferocious competitor, and Peter beat him in the English boys final, and Mike wouldn't come out of the toilet for an hour. So that's a proud boast of Peter's.
65.
But they've been great rivals and great friends, and occasionally that friendship goes off the rails, but they've been lifetime associates at least.
68.
Fantastic. So, well, no, we'll put her on with Andrew. David's just in the background saying that the lovely Tammy Lindrum, daughter of Horace Lindrum and grand niece of Walter, is available and has agreed to do some commentary. Tammy will be
Fabulous.
presenting the ladies' World Championship trophy at the end of proceedings later this afternoon. And I think it would be fantastic if we could put Tammy in with her family historian Andrew Ricketts, and that would be an elegant conclusion to the ladies' event here. And while we're doing that, I might leave you quickly and put David in with Neil while I get an update on the ladies' scores. We're in the final stages of the group matches here. I can tell you that Anna Lynch is undefeated in her group. Judy Dangerfield is undefeated in her group. And it appears that Jenny Budd, Sean's wife, has only lost to Judy, so she may well be running second in that group. And I think Alice Wu, the Chinese national now hailing from the Brisbane area, is also doing well in the Anna Lynch group. So, but let me check on an update on those scores and the group tables, and I'll report back to you shortly.
Thanks, Peter. As David Pitt joins us, Mike's just completed a balk line crossing in the 180s and charging up towards 200 here with the white very nicely placed at top of the table. Wouldn't surprise to see him even correct that, the yellow rather, back up what we call the Lindrum lines and get it closer to the red. May well do it here with indirect cannon off the cushion. Go right behind the yellow and kick it back towards the red.
99.
No, didn't he push it up to the line? He'll correct it back down after this pot.
Hello, Neil. Nice
David,
to see you, and how
love-
things in sunny
Lovely to be here, David. It's lovely to be in Italy too, just quietly. For those that have travelled to Europe and into the provincial Italy, I'll be telling you nothing other than it's absolute God's country. It's some of the most beautiful provincial sightseeing I've ever done and ever will do. It seemed like a bit of a miscue from Mike there.
Yeah, it did. He's just finished in a very awkward position there.
Yeah, he's just gone past the 200 mark, but he won't be happy with that at all.
That's a
Big
I think
mistake.
You're right, he did miscue it. Yeah.
But yes, just briefly, provincial Italy. For those who haven't been, go. It is
Simple message.
It is.
Took her a while to get there now.
It did. It did. Actively encouraged by your wife, David, who's an Italiophile. Is that a word?
Italophile. Yes,
Italophile?
it is indeed a word, Neil, and yes, indeed, Rhonda is. But
and with good reason. It is an absolutely beautiful place. Particularly, not surprising to those who may know me, the wine country in Tuscany is of particular enjoyment to me and was.
And were you able, while you're in the wine country, Neil, to sample some of the local product at all?
Surprisingly, I was, David.
Oh, that's
to the tune with a group of 4 of us. I think we averaged about 5 bottles a day for 4 weeks. So,
okay.
suffice to say that we left Italy with it having slightly less wine than when we started.
Right. Okay, that's good. Good to know.
But enough of that,
Yeah.
and
So now
back
we're
onto this
watching
billiards.
Mike Russell, so just a good
Before-
shot there. Strong left-hand side to hold the ball up coming off the top cushion and hit it hard enough to create a little bit of an angle to get in behind the yellow here.
Before we digressed onto Italy, he was in
yeah.
awful trouble, and now he's back in perfect position.
Yeah. It's fantastic for me in particular to come here this week and see Mike Russell play, and I've got a sort of a little personal quirk that made me very excited to meet to meet Mike. Beautiful shot there,
Just-
just falling on the.
And
on
for
the
those
yellow.
of us that normally play that shot half ball, he's played that very, very thick, almost three-quarter ball, which is not an easy shot to play. He made it look simple, but it was anything but.
33.
So in meeting Mike Russell earlier this week, I completed the set of 1,000 break players I have met, and it's a good set. It's better than most people. because
Foldvari,
there's-
Sethi.
No, Robbie hasn't made one I'm counting the ones who've made 1,000 break in match play.
Okay.
And so of the ones that have made a 1,000 break in recent years, it's here in this excellent program that Don Richter and other members of the tournament committee have put together. So the records that I'm just looking at, since the reintroduction of the two-pot rule in 1983, Peter Gilchrist holds the high break with 1,346, Geek Sethi with 1,276, Mike Russell with 1,137, Pankaj Advani with 1,092, and Peter Gilchrist again with exactly 1,000. In
Fantastic.
addition to those four players that I've met on that list, I also knew Michael Ferreira very well, the great Indian champion who made breaks of 1,140 odd and 995 in the same
Three-pot
match.
rule? No?
Under the three-pot rule. Yeah. I believe it was the three-pot rule. It may have been the five-pot rule at that time. Wonderful player, Mike. So that's 5. And then in addition to those 5, I've also met when I was very young, the great Clark McConaughey, who was a multiple 1,000 break player and the first man to make consecutive 1,000 breaks, and Horace Lindrum, who the nephew of Walter Lindrum, who was also extremely good billiards player and
Good shot.
made over a dozen 1,000 breaks in his billiards career before he transferred his attention to snooker. So yeah, I'm just feeling quite pleased with myself about that.
What do we do here, David? Brutal snooker player would probably just bang the red in, but I think he'll play.
I think he'll play a soft cannon. Yep. Oh, he's missed it and he's jawed the red, so he's
Played a bit of both and got
I think he was trying to bring the red back
Yeah, I thought he
back across the table.
looked like he.
He might have been playing
know.
to potted as well.
Don't
You
know.
can't
Yeah, I
quite
think
tell,
the
but
way
anyway,
he played that, a bit of both, but I think more the pot.
He's made a
Made a hash of it. Still a lovely break of
Yeah.
247, I
Yeah,
think it was.
yes. And
But Sourav's back in
yeah,
here.
it takes him from 100 behind to 150 in front, which is a nice place to be. But 3/4 of an hour to go in this session.
He
There's
could
still
be 400 behind.
there's still a long way to go in this match. There's still over 2.5 hours left to play. So ample opportunity for either Sourav or Mike, to show what they're capable of. Lovely soft drop on the red there by Sourav. He's a little bit straight on this red. He'd like to have a bit more angle than this, but not quite sure how he'll handle
I think
this.
he's going to power this in and try and get up the table, David.
Well,
He can't drop in for the cross loser. I
No,
don't
you
think he'll
wouldn't
play
think
the
so.
red to white cannon. That's ugly.
no, that's
I think he'll
very
deep
smelly.
screw this and try and get up
I
for the
think
in
that's
off
what
white.
he's going to do, but he's just
It's not
reaching out
easy.
over the table.
It's not easy.
It's not. It's a bit awkward. He's reaching out a long way.
He's got to get up near the blue spot if he
Yeah,
can.
that's right. Yeah.
He's done it.
He's
Almost
actually
done it.
played that as a bit
Sort
of a
of stun screw.
stunny screw, but it's very good. He actually widened the angle by
Yeah.
doing it that way, so
See,
he's got where he needs to be.
This one's a bit thin, but I think
yeah.
he'll put the white somewhere near the pyramid spot here and
Yeah.
be back. Oh no, didn't even bother with that. That's a
well,
bit
that's
of
going a bit
twixt in
far.
between.
Yeah. I think it's a bit narrow, this in off.
Is this what we call the Ian Gilby in off white, David?
It is. Ian Gilby is
I
a
hope he's
veteran.
listening. I hope he's listening.
A veteran player. I think he's here in the club, actually. A veteran player from Melbourne who's a master of the hazard game. He's the only player I know who can consistently play these shots as
In off
thick
quarter ball
run-throughs,
or
thin, but
yeah.
he plays these thick 3/4 ball with strong check side to
Just a cannon, bit of hope here,
bring
hoping to
them.
lob
Yeah.
the red over the middle and make
this
primarily make the cannon.
yeah.
This is very missable,
yeah.
but you wouldn't expect
But,
a player
but
like
not only
Sourav
is
to
it
miss. He hasn't.
not
He's got
only
it thin.
missable, but highly problematic, the position. I mean,
he,
really.
he got it thin.
Yeah,
and
these balls
hence
these are all over the place, you know.
Yeah.
What's he going to do here?
I think a cannon, one cushion cannon with right-hand side
yeah.
off the whites on.
I think that's on, but it's, you know, it's pretty
very
speculative.
Big pot
red is a huge shot.
Pot
from
red and
here.
hope for a 5 shot.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think you'll find he's playing the cannon.
Oh,
Oh, what
look
a
at
great shot. What a wonderful shot. This is why he's world champion. You know, the ability to pull out a huge shot
Not
like
out of
that.
trouble yet, but I think on this table, this forcer shouldn't be too hard, should it? They going in from here, David?
Yeah, we saw Mike Russell play a big forcer on the other side of the table before.
Didn't quite get into it.
When his cue was actually, his backhand was actually on the balk line.
I think earlier in the week that probably would have slid in easily, but it just caught the top cushion.
Yeah. Sourav wasn't quite as wide as Mike was from his, but he was, you know, on the right side of the table for a right-hander. Mike was on the wrong side, but
that's not a good shot from Mike.
This is just
disappointed with that.
Yeah, just showing perhaps where Mike has slipped a bit from his superlatively high standards of years past. He would have gobbled up a difficult pot like that 15 years ago, but these days, you know, as you get older, you lose a little bit of your sharpness, and while you might retain all your skills when you're in at the top, it's
your knowledge,
and your knowledge. They don't go away. But it's just the getting in.
The shots in random billiard shots.
In random positions.
That you and I play every second shot, David.
Every second shot, yeah.
He's got that a bit thin. He won't be happy with that.
He won't be happy with that, and he's left it on the top cushion, which is not the place to be. It's you want this one to be away from the cushion because.
Now, I used to like to play these as a double kiss, David. Try and double kiss the red and leave them together.
Yeah, he got a double kiss.
He wanted to double kiss the other side, but that's.
I think this is okay.
You'll have it in off red there, I think, or possibly in an off white. Don't know. Neither of them are sitters, but I'd expect him to make this.
Yeah, I think just a little bit of.
Oh, that's just a little thing. Yeah, that was pretty straightforward.
That was fine,
A lovely angle from the side gives you much better perspective of.
Fantastic camera work from our producer Dan Lynch here from Cue Ball TV, who's been sitting all week, all day, every day. Dan's eyeballs must nearly be falling out of their sockets because we've been running 11 and 12-hour days here at the RACV, and Dan's been on duty for virtually all of that.
I reckon he'll be a 500 break player by the end of this, Dave.
By the end of it, you're right. We've been very kind to Dan tomorrow morning. We've given him the morning off, and then
outrageous.
And then he's got another 8-hour stint before the final. And we feel we might be obliged to invite Dan along to the after final function, where there'll be a couple of refreshments, and Dan will have deserved. A quiet ale more than anybody here, really. He's just doing a fantastic job. 4-camera setup, which I think is the first time you've done that, Dan? Yeah, first time Dan's had a 4-camera setup here for a tournament. But of course, there's a World Championship. That's also as high as you can go in Cue Ball TV's world of Cue Sports. How many World Championships have you done, Dan? 2015 in Adelaide, I know, and this one, yeah, okay. So, pool, nothing in pool, okay, yeah, okay. So, plenty of national championships in pool, billiards, snooker, and 9-ball. Have you done 9-ball? Yeah, 9-ball. So Dan's just an all-rounder, really, when it comes to covering Cue Sports, and with the his expertise and the equipment that he's developed over the years, we're just blessed to have him here for the whole week, providing us with these great pictures, which are going out on the World Billiards YouTube channel. So a couple of choices here.
I think he would have preferred to play off the white, but
probably preferred that to push it
a little bit dangerous. So
safety
he took the natural, but he's come up a bit short. He'll have the long loser here.
Yeah, you think he might take the cannon on?
No, David Collins would play the cannon here. But
a lot of these players will play this cannon. He's got a nice big ball there, so the shot there, I think he's setting up for the long loser, but the cannon shot, you're just chipping the red a little bit thinner than half ball into the corner. I think he is playing it, and then you're coming down off the side cushion with strong side.
You're right, I think you are.
To play the cannon, and that, if he hits this correctly, that will chip the... He's just got on the wrong side of the white, but it's still a good shot, you know.
Red's a little bit... No, you'll be able to draw in off that, I think. Pretty straightforward.
So it's the strong screw in right-hand side, about a half ball contact on this one, surprisingly. Oh,
he's
he's
played
did it
that-
too thick.
Now, I think
think
he
there was a
played that
kiss?
with right-hand side, David. I would have played that with pocket side. I reckon he
Yeah.
played it with right-hand
Well,
side.
well, Dan might be
to
able to
draw
show
the
us that
angle.
one again. Let's just.
I think he
see
played that
what
with
happened.
right-hand side, which
Yeah,
surprised me.
yeah.
I would
Perhaps he-
definitely have played that with pocket side.
Perhaps he needed to do that to avoid the kiss.
Possibly,
on that
yep.
because it was pretty close to the cushion.
Yep.
Here we go.
Mike's got no choice but to pop this.
Yeah. It'll come on here. So here we go. We've got a nice shot there from Dan. I think
Definitely
you're right.
played
You're
that with
absolutely
right-hand
right. He did
side.
play- So that's what we call the modern side. Oh, Mike, I don't think that's going into balk. Oh, he's left that out. That's a mistake. That's
Wow.
a uncharacteristic mistake. But as we've seen, he's just making these little mistakes. Not only in this match, but in earlier matches in the week. Mike has just been, that was. That right is fully a foot short of where he intended it to be, probably 2 feet. So it's extraordinary. Yes, these days with the pockets being a little bit more generous than they used to be, it's actually possible to play those screws down the cushion up to a certain distance away with
He's got that. He's
with the running side rather than
Yeah.
pocket side. And the theory is that your ball will just travel along the cushion and curl in sweetly without ever actually hitting the blind jaw.
Yep.
When you're further away, or if you're playing on tight pockets, then the way to play it is with pocket side, which will turn it in off
Big
the
mistake
jaw.
from Mike here.
But,
One good cross loser here and
Yep.
leave the pot, and
Yeah, I think he's
Sourav's in
he's
prime
having a think
position.
about potting that and going
It is
straight
very
down.
thin. Well,
Just
he's
a
still
bit-
thinking
right,
about
he's
it.
Still thinking about it, yeah.
Surprised he just doesn't take
Take
the
it
simple
once. Yeah,
simple
yeah,
mid-pocket loser,
yeah.
but if the
See what
pot's
he-
on, you take it.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit thinner than half ball, maybe not quarter ball, but certainly
A
thinner.
little
than
bit
half ball.
high here, but
He's a very good potter and snooker player, Sourav. He's won a lot of tournaments in India, and he came out to Australia this year and won the Pacific International snooker.
good shot that. He didn't try to
against
do
a
too
very
much
strong
with that.
field of all the leading Australians. So that was a great win. And yep, he's just recovered this year.
Didn't try to get. Oh, hang on.
Oh,
Wow.
it's fallen in. Yeah. That looked like it was going to miss, didn't it?
I
Neil?
thought it was hitting the
just
hitting the straight
sliding,
jaw.
New cloth, and that they will slide in a little bit more easily than.
But
they
lo
have
and behold,
before.
we're in El
he's
Primo now.
Yeah, that's right. So the cloth we're playing on here this week, Neil, is a new cloth, a strawn superfine cloth, which has only been developed in the last year or so.
Taking over from the 6811, is that correct?
Well, it's now been endorsed as the cloth of choice for the IBSF for their tournaments. It's an interesting cloth. We had one on a table down at Yarraville this year. It's much lighter than any of the other cloths that Strawn make. So the Strawn.
So you don't put it on your club table, David?
Well,
It won't last long.
It won't last all that long. No, it's just to give you an example of the weights of the cloth. The 32-ounce Strawn cloth is about, I think, just a tick over 500 grams per square metre. The 6811 30-ounce cloth, which is what we've been using in Australia.
The 32 is the old Strawn Special, isn't it?
No, that's another one. I'll get to that. The 30-ounce cloth, which we've been using for a number of years in Australia for championship tournaments, and the IBSF has been using for about 20 years, is about in the high 400s grams per square metre. The Strawn number 10, which is what the pros use, is heavier in between those two, around about 490.
Okay.
But this cloth here is only 400 grams per square metre, so it's 20% lighter in weight and density than those other cloths. Surprisingly, it doesn't play all that differently to the 6811. It still plays beautifully. You can still have all the control and touch that you have with those other Strawn cloths, but it just goes to show that whatever comes out of the Strawn factory is absolutely
Top shelf.
top quality billiard cloth. The cushions are covered in the Strawn 6811 30-ounce cloth. There's a feeling that this superfine cloth is just too thin
Would slide
to
too
put on
much?
the cushions. Slide a bit too much, and it wouldn't wear as well. So it'll be interesting to see how these cloths wear here at the RACV.
So do you think the cushions have started to straighten up as the week's gone on, David?
Oh yeah, they always do. You know, so the newly covered cushions and the new rubbers on 5 of the tables here as well. So they're always going to be a bit slidey in the first bit. Not as much as they used to be a few years ago, where they used to slide madly when you went to a tournament on new cloths. And I had a chat to Tim Lowe, the factory manager at Alcock's, about that just recently. And one of the things he said to me is that they've changed the tape that they used to tape the cushions. They used to use a particular tape that was a specialty, specially made for fitting billiard tables, and they put a layer of tape between the raw rubber of the cushion and the cushion cloth, just to give it a little bit of grip and a bit of stability. So that tape was no longer available. They tried a few different things, but now they're actually using sports tape to tape the cushion. So it's just a change that nobody would know. You can't see it. It's hidden under the green cushion cloth. But just you know, a change in the way things are
So
done.
the suspicion would be that it's not quite as tacky as the original cloth,
perhaps not,
which
because,
allows the fibres of the cloth to contract more and stop the slide.
Yeah, I think so. I think that this the cloth they're using now is perhaps just a little bit more flexible, a bit more.
Just a little cover here for Sourav, but I think he's just going to wick in off the white.
Yeah, he can do that, but
no problem.
He left himself a long-range shot here. This is.
I think he can just play this one off the white with a bit of left-hand side. I don't think he'll worry too much about the white. His primary goal here will be to make good, solid contact on the red and keep the red in play. Recover the white when he can.
Not a difficult shot, but for the club player, this is one that can go horribly wrong. Generally by hitting it too hard.
Yeah.
And the trick is you can't afford to get in underneath the red.
Drop kick it up the table. I don't think he can.
Oh,
he's played that nicely.
Okay, it's a nice shot. That.
Yeah, it was a bit wider than it looked.
Yes, and we'll should see the
turn
white
up perfectly, but I think
the white hasn't quite come into shot. But look, the white's in the middle of the table.
It is now.
Oh, there it is.
Close to the pyramid
just turned
spot.
Up. He's got a screw in off here, sending the red in and out of balk. And again, we'll see the red come into the. No, we won't.
Quite come into
Not
picture,
quite.
but
I can see it on the other monitor. It's right over the middle pocket, so that's fine.
Long Jenny here.
Okay, you sure? Yeah. No, I think he'll find
It's
he'll
wide,
screw
the
it
long
off
Jenny.
this.
I'm not sure that's
I
on.
don't think it's on. I think he's going to screw this back into the middle pocket, sending the red in and out of balk.
Yep.
66.
The beauty of that shot is that it's just going to come around the angles, and it actually doesn't matter where the red finishes. If the red finishes anywhere between a couple of feet outside the balk line to
He's got a shot.
even all the way down near the top cushion, because it's sort of travelling diagonally across the centre of the table, it's going to be okay.
You might just drop this one dead weight, David. Yep. Didn't try to do anything there.
Yeah, just leave himself a straight red.
Yeah, simple red.
Yeah, and just keep it simple.
Get back on top of the red, and then try and get off at some stage, I suspect. Drop the red down on its spot, and then there'll be a little drop cannon to be had.
That. Tries across, just make sure he's coming towards the red on the spot rather than away from it. Not really a shot that you would get to play in snooker, that shot, because there's usually too many balls in the way for that sort of thing. But in billiards, you've got the table open, and he's just able to use 2 cushions then to get into good position. That was a good shot.
This looks perfect. I think he can avoid hitting the white with the red on the way through. Get that one over the middle, and away we go. Yep.
77.
Well, it's just in a bit of no man's land here, so he's going to have to
he can drop the
rescue
red
that.
in and play a little mini drop cannon, David.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Will he go under the red or under the white, or will he cut it in front of it?
No, I think he'll cut it in front of it.
I think you're right.
And he'll be trying to put the red more or less on the billiard spot. Yeah. He's just left them close together. That's nice. Yeah.
Too bad.
That's nice.
Come over the top of the red here and leave the red in the right-hand corner.
One of the things I've learnt in my couple of years that I've been doing this commentary is not try too often to predict what the players are going to do, Neil, because all you can do is
got that one right.
You got that one right, yeah. All you're going to do is make an idiot of yourself. So
I think you have
my
to try
preferred
and
mode of operation is to just let them play the shots and then say, oh yes, I knew they were going to do that afterwards.
there's no fun in that, David.
Well, that's gone a little bit nasty with that kiss. Simple cannon off the side
He
cushion,
doesn't look
but
too fast.
you can never really be sure what's happening. So we've just been handed the
Peter's
scores
got
by
some
Peter
scores.
Tankard from the final round of the round robin for the Women's World Championship, which is on. Alice Wu from China is leading Kylie Bellinger in their round robin match. Kathy Prescott is leading Shelley Ames in their match. Jenny Budd is leading Yvonne Marnie in that game, and Tammy Cantoni is leading Michelle Hansen in their game. So it looks as though certainly that Judy Dangerfield and Anna Lynch, who went through their round robin groups undefeated, are going to be the number 1 and 2 seeds for the knockout section. It'll be the result of these matches that determines who comes through. And my thinking at the moment is that probably Alice Wu and Shelley Ames might be the two that get through. Jenny Budd, what was the result of the game between Jenny and Judy? Judy won that. Oh, Judy lost to Jenny. Oh, then Jenny's a chance to finish it. Jenny lost to Judy, yeah. So yeah. That's right. Okay. Oh well, then sorry, I stand corrected. So it looks like Jenny Budd will go through from Group B with Judy Dangerfield, and then the interest will be in Group A, where I think the winner of Alice Wu and Kylie Bellinger is likely to go through in that group. So interesting times for the women playing in the World Women's Championship. Apart from Anna Lynch, who's really a billiards specialist, 18-time Victorian champion and the winner of the inaugural Australian Women's Billiards Championship this year. Not too many of these girls would, would describe themselves as billiard specialists. They come from snooker or pool, and for some of them, in fact, this will be the first time they've played billiards at all seriously. And they're in for a big day because they're playing 4 1-hour matches in the round robin, followed by a 90-minute semi-final and a 90-minute final. So for the two finals, it'll be a 7-hour day of billiards, which is a big day. Something that normally we try to avoid in billiard tournaments, and generally speaking in Australia we're looking at a maximum of 6 hours. Although the players here today in the semi-finals will be playing 7 hours of billiards as well, because they played a 3-hour quarter-final this morning, and now they're in a 4-hour semi. So it's just difficult with scheduling to balance the desire to not drive the players into the ground. Great crowd shot there, you can see. We've got reserved seating here at the RACV, and we're virtually booked out for the semis and final here. And as you can see, the front row seats are full. Plenty in the second row. There's a grandstand at the balk end of the table, which is pretty full, and there's another grandstand at the spot end, which is pretty full as well. So we've got seating capacity for nearly 100 people here, and I'd say there's probably about 80 in at the moment for this.
Stalwart
this
of the
first
RACV
session.
club, you might have just glimpsed in the corner there, David. Gordon Sexton.
Gordon Sexton,
Haven't
yeah.
seen him for 15 years. He has not changed one iota.
Gordon's, as you say, a stalwart of the RACV. I think he's 92 now, Gordon.
Doesn't look a day over 70.
Indeed, he doesn't. Still playing okay too. I had a hit with Gordon earlier this year, 150 up, and he cleaned me up without any trouble at all. Just with his very strong hazard game and
92.
Yeah, he's 92.
Fabulous.
And still playing okay. Making his 30 and 40 breaks, which is great to see. So there's a group of players that get in here every Sunday at the RACV. They love their billiards. They just play little matches against each other, stop and have lunch and perhaps a glass of wine, and then continue on. They're here from about 11 o'clock till 4 o'clock every Sunday, and they just love their billiards.
As we talk, Sourav's just taken the lead. In prime position here, 125 to go. Could be a significant moment in this match. 23 minutes left in the session.
Yep. So another blast from the past that I ran into earlier today, Neil, was Doug Pascoe. Doug Pascoe,
Remember
former
Doug
secretary of the PBSA. Doug's 94, and I haven't seen him
really?
for years. And yeah, he's looking very sprightly. And earlier in the day, Hal Peck was in here, who's 95. So there's some real.
Blokes closing in on personal centuries.
They are. They're hoping to cross the balk line soon. Yeah.
Oh, they might have had the balk line crossing already.
They might have already had it. Yeah. So great to see.
Gordon's looking remarkable. I saw him, spotted him immediately. Hasn't changed at all.
Ron Steekham's been in this week. He's over 90 as well. So yeah. Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, one of his sponsorship medallions
okay.
fallen off.
Right. So we've just been informed that there's been a what we call a costume wardrobe malfunction. Yes, by Sourav. His sponsors patch is coming off, and he's just had to go and do a bit of rapid report.
What do we talk about now, David?
Oh, well, it's like the cricket, Neil. When the cricket stops and it starts raining, that's when it gets interesting. And you get, Henry Blofeld and Christopher Martin Jenkins and Jonathan Agnew, all those guys. That's when they really start going, So here we are. Yep, so we've got an interview coming up now with Rupesh Shah, recorded earlier this week at RACV, and Don Rector has put together a terrific series of interviews with these guys. And
how are you enjoying the championship in Melbourne? How are you finding the tables?
The tables are more than perfect. There's no way any player can say that it's not rolling good. We are too glad to be on these tables. They have been done very well.
And how are you playing yourself?
I'm becoming better with each and every match, and hopefully it should become much better this evening when it's required now.
Hey, good luck. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. So, how did you go in your last match?
Just about fell over the line, and it felt like anyway. Just about fell over the line. Won by about 100, but it's closer than that. Yeah, it felt a lot closer than that.
And how are you finding the tables?
They're nice and quick.
Yeah.
Bit hard to get used to on the cushions and things like that, but top of the table I'm finding difficult, but everything else I'm going all right on.
All right, good luck. Good luck.
Cheers, thanks very much.
Okay, so how did you go in your last match?
Okay, yeah. Started to play a little bit better. Made 100 and I made 180, so
that's a bit better. Yeah. And
a little bit better.
And how are you finding the tables?
Perfect.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Perfect.
How are they?
There's no excuse. It's completely the player's fault. If you break down, the tables are lovely. They've played really well.
So Peter, how are you going in the tournament so far?
Oh, good. Yeah, queuing well.
Yeah.
Got an easy draw. I've got Jason Colebrook. So yeah, happy days.
How are you finding the tables?
The tables are fantastic. Probably the best conditions that we've had over in Australia. And why shouldn't it be? What a fantastic club.
35.
Back on here after a short break, and Sourav picking up where he left off.
So Neil, this is David Pitt speaking, and I'm with Neil Croft in commentary here. We're just looking at Sourav, who's just gone to remove a sponsor's patch, which had started to fall off. No surprise, because it's just sitting underneath where he cues through on the right-hand side of his vest. So, after a couple of thousand times of doing that, it's no surprise that it's come loose. But he's in beautiful position here, perfect top of the table with 148 to go. He's come from 100 or so behind to hit the front by 40 or so. So what this will do is leave this semi-final very evenly poised, approaching the halfway mark. So very pretty shot that Sourav just played. A slow cannon from the red to the white, just making sure that that he left the red straight. And I don't know if you've noticed, but when Matthew Bolton comes to play on a new table, the only shot he practices is rolling the red down in that direction, just to see how much it moves, because it's absolutely critical when you're playing that slow shot to get that right angle. The same shot there, he's played it again.
And he's got just nicely on top of the red there to stun up.
But whenever Matthew comes onto a new table, he just looks from both sides just to see how that ball moves.
Because when you hit it that slow, the white can roll hitting into the red, and then the red can roll after you've hit it.
So it's more the white on the way down that he's looking at. Because there's just a little. It's not that the table rolls. It's just
the natural cloth, and when you hit it that slow,
hitting it very slowly, there's nap on the cloth which causes the ball to move a little bit. There can be a little roll on tables sometimes, which will affect things. So
perfect floating white here from Sourav. I played Roxton Chapman many years ago. Roxton's the most precise top of the table player I've ever seen, and spoke during a run like this of trying to get 20 to 30 points out of each inch that the white travelled towards the top cushion before hitting the correcting cannon.
Right.
Now, not many of the players do that. They'll play 2 or 3 direct cannons and then an indirect and knock it back. Roxton used to pride himself on being able to get 20 to 30 points out of each inch that the white moved forward.
So he would milk it moving down towards the top cushion.
He would feather it. That would be a strong contact for Roxton, that contact on the white.
So he might make perhaps 60 or 80 points before he...
that was his goal. He played with such incredible precision. But what happened to Roxton when I saw him play more than any is that he would leave the balls touching.
Yes.
And it just he never seemed to get a cover, but he would get more touching balls than anybody else and have to revert to the respot.
Yeah, which would kill you. You're in a perfect top. They're actually under discussion about changing that touching ball rule.
Leave it optional?
Just
keep playing.
Yeah, just keep playing.
It's not a bad rule.
Yeah,
a bit of bother here, Sourav.
If you leave them touching, by your own shot, why should you get a spot up? Is the thinking.
I don't know if you watched that, but he potted the red firm, tried to hit the baulk cushion first and did hit the side cushion, and it's checked up and come up short. Didn't quite get into the red enough to get it onto the baulk cushion first.
Yeah, that's the shot that they've really been having trouble with on this table compared to the others. On the other tables, that shot has just been coming around in a way that they expect, but on this table, it hasn't quite been. That's a great shot.
Yeah,
long
needs a result though.
Shot with the rest. I think he's got a shot.
He'll have a cannon off the cushion, I think, from the white to red.
He might have a thin in off. He'd have to hit this very hard to leave himself a position. So he might.
It's not perfect.
No, he might play a sort of a firm cannon to knock the red back over to the right. But
We'll soon find out.
I think he's playing a thin and off.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, that wasn't that thin.
Well.
Yeah, that was good.
He played well. He had to play it firmly to bring the white off the.
Once again, the focus on this shot.
Yep, he's not out of the woods.
Focus on this shot will be simply to make good contact on the red. The final positioning of the white after this shot is almost inconsequential.
Relevant. Yeah, just happy to get
the red back into play, and then you can recover the white a number of ways.
We can't quite see on this angle on the monitor, but if he can play this slowly, he'll be really pleased. Yes, he's
played
done
that with a lot of right.
He did, and he's played it
he
well.
Didn't need as much right as he did.
Yeah, you just
funny how that happens.
Have to make that ball was a fraction of an inch off the cushion, and he just hit it a bit thick.
Not sure if he played for the double kiss or the thin contact, but he got neither.
Yeah.
Now he's in the long grass, as they say, David.
He is. Normally this would be a simple screwing off, but because his ball is on the cushion, it's actually very difficult. If he was just a fraction of an inch off the cushion, he'd have room to
maybe
get in
a couple of cushion. He might
have
like 2 goes at this off the other side cushion.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, he's overcooked it.
Yeah.
Lovely
break of 195. And as you said, David, quite rightly, this game now very, very nicely poised. Sourav with a small lead, Mike at the table.
Mike at the table, but
I think there's a run through on here.
Yeah.
Not sure where the red will end up, but I'm sure he's got something planned. He's potted the white.
He has too. That's unlucky,
If you tried to do that, you'd never do it in 100 attempts.
Exactly, that's exactly.
And he wanted to promote the white towards the pocket, hopefully for the in-off.
That's right, yeah, but...
Still, he's got second prize here.
He has. This time
He got them into balk this time,
both
David.
in balk, but he's got that red.
No, that's okay.
Is it? You got
There's a
enough
bit of angle
there?
there, I think.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. I don't think Sourav will give him the white. I think he'll bury it on the side cushion.
So you can tell that Neil is of the old school because he's referring to the yellow ball as the white. Of course, for 200 years.
Back when I was playing.
Yeah, 200 years billiards was played with two white balls, one with two small black spots on it, and a red ball. But in the last, I'm not quite sure
25?
how long, 25 years perhaps.
96 World Championship was with a yellow.
Yep.
So that's 23 years ago.
Yeah, so they brought in a white ball and a yellow ball, and then more recently they've added red spots onto the cue balls, which is a fantastic innovation because it enables the viewer, not only in the room, everybody in the room, but also everybody watching on the live stream, to see exactly what the players are doing with their shots. Previously, with the plain coloured balls, it was a bit of a concealed art because unless you're in the front row or refereeing, you couldn't really see what side they were putting on a shot until it hit a cushion. But with these the spotted balls, they're fantastic because everybody can see exactly how the ball is spinning, and it really adds to the spectator enjoyment of the game.
Beautifully played that shot.
Yeah, that's a lovely shot.
Beautifully
lovely
played.
Shot.
Didn't bother just to get there, Eddie. He also
No.
promoted the white, the yellow. Sorry, there you go, David.
Yeah.
And he'll just pop this red in and going off the yellow. Try and get it over the middle pocket, and away we go. Yeah. I've got a great story of Mike's, of watching Mike play, David. I think I've told you, but I think it's worth sharing with the audience. Back in 1996 in Bhubaneswar, Mike was playing Roxton Chapman in the final of the IBSF World Championship. It was a 6-hour final, and Roxton left the balls beautifully defensive. The red was in balk, but about 12 or 14 inches from the corner pocket from each cushion, so very hard to make a cannon, and he had his white only an inch or two off the side cushion up near the pyramid spot.
So perfect break.
Just about perfect, except Mike could get thin off the white, and which he did with a ton of running side, hit it off 3 cushions, proceeded to get the balls to top in about 5 shots, and started on a break. And the break went and went and went with at perfect top until the score got to 375. And at that stage, Mike played one of those little cannons I said that Roxton plays at the top, and left touching balls. And with the white and the yellow, which had only recently come into being, Mike had played a break of 375 points and didn't know which colour ball he was playing with. The referee picked up the touching balls, put the red on the spot, and threw the yellow back to Mike and put the white on the middle pocket spot, on the middle spot. Mike then proceeded to play the cannon, the respot cannon from 375, and there was a groan from about 120 people in the audience because he'd played with the wrong ball. Now, in those days, theoretically, there was no referee's discretion about this, and it was instantly a foul. And the referee didn't pick it up, but one of the check scorers did, and he rushed over before Mike could play his next shot and whispered in the ear of the referee. Play stopped. The check scorer, the other scorer, and the referee proceeded to have a little 2-minute conflab, at which stage they asked the match referee to come down from the audience. And the match referee came down from the audience, looked at the balls, picked his ball marker out of his pocket, spotted Mike had played with the yellow, so he spotted the yellow, spotted the white, swapped them over, and Mike continued on to play with the white and ended up getting to 646. It was one of the more remarkable things I've ever seen, and effectively, the match was almost over at the first visit.
In a 6-hour match. Yeah. So an appalling error by all 4 of the.
But I don't think anybody disagreed with it, David. I mean, technically they did, but I don't think anybody wanted to see the break finish on the back of what was effectively a refereeing mistake. Although in those days, in fairness, it was the player's responsibility.
The onus is on the player. Yeah. The referee can't.
Well, the referee didn't, but the match referee did.
The match referee, that's
it's quite a controversial moment. Roxton didn't
demur.
He didn't make any fuss about it, which I think he was entitled to do, but he didn't. I don't think that was Roxton's style.
Yeah. He's made a bit of a comeback, Roxton, in the last couple of years after not playing at all. He's nowhere near the player.
Look
that
out!
Lucky. He's nowhere near the player that he was, you know, when he was absolutely at the top of his game, you know, winning major championships and runner-up in those big ones. But yeah, no, he came back and played in a few tournaments last year in England, made a few breaks. So it just shows, Neil, it is possible to come back after a bit of a break out of the game.
Sorry, David, I'm not quite sure what you're referring to.
So this nice little sequence here, Mike's just...
Ooh, David, you've got to learn to... No, he'll be okay here.
Yeah, he's just made a nice recovery with a cushion first.
Soft little cannon here, mix
style
cannon here.
Little soft screw just to bring the red back to join in.
Yeah, nicely played.
So leaving himself a pot or an in off here.
Hard to pick a winner in this match, David.
Oh, impossible.
Both throwing punches, but nobody throwing a knockout blow.
That's right.
With the big haymaker at the moment.
We saw some great billiards yesterday. Don Richter, who was just behind me a moment ago, was saying last night it was just unbelievable. You know, everywhere you looked, somebody was making a 200 break in the last 16 matches. But earlier in the day yesterday, we had a fantastic match between last 16 match of only an hour and a half between David Corsier and Pankaj Advani. David, I think, made a big 300 to go 300 in front. Pankaj responded with a 265 to catch up almost all of that, but missed, and then you know, David was able to get back in and
ugly spot here, David.
In the end, went comfortable. Yes, it is ugly.
Run through, I think. Run through with strong left-hand side,
Is
three-quarter
he
ball.
going enough?
I think he's got it. It's a beautiful shot.
What a good
got enough side.
Shot
What a shot that is.
What a wonderful shot. And by the time it got to the pocket, it
quite
actually
rightly
virtually
getting a lot
run
of
out
applause from the audience.
Yeah.
Beautiful
By the time
shot.
it got to the pocket,
It
it
had
had
run
run
out.
out of side because he couldn't hit that hard.
No, it
there was
would
a
have
risk
thrown.
of losing the...
Yeah.
Well,
and
not
losing
only
the
that, but
yellow
the
as
risk
well.
of losing yellow.
Notice how I picked up on calling it yellow, David,
well
after
done,
being suitably chastised by you.
No, I make that mistake all the time because, you know, we all called the object ball the white all the time. So, you know, and it didn't matter who had which ball. It was, you know, you're playing a white to red cannon or a red to white cannon, you know, and then to introduce, you know, the technology of having to say yellow to white or yellow to red or red to white or white to red, you know, it's just a bit too confusing. So everyone may understand what we're talking about, which is more than we can say in that particular part, which is probably more than they can say for the rest of our commentary, where they may conclude that it's all gobbledygook.
See what Mike did then, David? He's going to just drop this red in dead pace, and it's very important to get the white onto the exact line that he needs to play the correct cannon.
Yep.
And he just double checked it with his...
went down and had a look.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he compared it to how far the yellow is off the cushion. He wanted the white just less than that, and it's perfect.
Yep. A lovely bit of play there.
He won't be happy with that.
I think how do we play that with check side? So that
he won't be happy with that.
Maybe he was hoping that would just curl a little bit against the nab up.
He's back
in
though.
the right contact, but yeah, no problems at all here. These are wonderful pictures you're showing us, Dan. I love this this camera angle where we can see the crowd, the hoarding behind the players. Referee Neil Brown, one of our most experienced referees in Australia.
Had a long time out of the game, David, but he's back into it now.
He's back into it now. He's been back in now for about 5 or 6 years, and he really loves his billiards. He's an excellent referee. I call Neil the players' referee. Because if you ask any of the players who the best referee is, a lot of them will say it's Neil Brown. He's responsive, he's attuned to what the players are doing, which not every referee is. And
little balk line crossing there, David.
Yes, nice one too. But then followed it up with a 5 shot, which is less than ideal. Would prefer to just trap the red in the jaws there, but oh. That wasn't a good shot, but yeah, I think he's got out of it.
Not many of the Australians are tuned to playing with the balk line crossing rule, are they, Dave?
We don't.
Matthew aside.
Yes, that's true. We don't play that rule in our national championship, although we do play it in our Australian Open Championship. The reason it's not played is it's an optional rule in billiards, and the desire is. In Australia, to be able to better compare the the
current records with
current
historical
records
ones?
with historical records. So, we had so many great amateurs in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s who were making big
Paying
breaks.
homage to Bob Marshall 702.
Yeah, Bob Marshall with his Australian record 702 made in 1952 or 3 in the
former
final
record though. Matthew's beaten that now, hasn't
twice, yeah. In the final of the Australian Championship against Tom Cleary. And then beaten twice by Matthew Bolton with I think 736 the first time, and then 809. Yeah, 809 down at the
Phenomenal stuff.
Club. Yeah, fantastic.
Phenomenal
I was
stuff.
playing on the next table during both of those breaks. So
How many did you make during his 809?
not a lot.
David?
Well, once he got up to about 600,
everyone stopped.
Well, no, unfortunately we didn't. Yeah, but I stopped. And was quite happy to go and sit in my chair and sit and watch, and naturally a huge round of applause, particularly the first time when Matthew broke that record that had been standing for 60 years. There was a massive round of applause and a huge grin and almost a victory lap by Matt Bolton when he did that. Not the same when he broke his own record. Naturally, he was elated to get past the 800 mark, but the beating Bob Marshall was the one that really had all the excitement. So, just playing that. He wouldn't have minded just clipping the yellow there on the way back, which might have just ended up with a sort of a free, perfect shot.
Is he high enough here?
Just needs this to come off the cushion a bit.
I think he would have liked to be another ball width wider, but it might be okay.
Yeah.
You might have to leave the yellow behind a bit here. We'll see.
A little thin, but I don't think it's any drama.
Yeah, he couldn't quite. Well, he did.
See, yeah, you were right. He
had to leave it behind to get the red correctly.
That's right. So it's okay. It'll go in off this and just bring the red back into play. Not sure how hard he has to hit that. Quite hard. Good judgment of pace there, though. Just leave it a little bit outside ball.
It's in the magic circle, David.
But even better. It's just
would have been a foot harder. Would have been nicer, but I don't think.
I don't think so. I think he's very happy with this because this makes his putt very easily. He's a beautiful potter, Mike, and he just follow this through. Just watch how his ball travels down the table.
I'll tell you a difference there between the shot Mike played there and a shot Matthew might have played.
Yep.
Matthew would have lined that one up just the fraction off straight and run it into the side cushion just above the middle pocket and then bounced off to get the angle. It may not have been the shot there, but it's one I've definitely seen Matthew play over the years, which I think stands out as a classy differentiation of shot to choose when potting into the middle pocket with the white at the top, or the yellow as the case may be.
Yeah, particularly for good potters, perhaps snooker players or others, playing the shot that way means virtually that your position is guaranteed.
And you're also not taking the pocket out of your eye line either, David, when you pot.
That's right. You're leaving yourself a virtually straight putt. You're able to see the...
Oh my God. Did he get a kick there, or did he just play a bad shot? I don't think that was a kick, but it was an unbelievable miss.
I think he played that with side, but nonetheless, that was a
possible miscue, or just a... I don't know.
I don't think it was just a miss.
Just a bad shot.
2 minutes to go. Mike just hit the front again then by 50 or so. And
he'll have a lead, but Sourav's focus will be on having the table at the end of this session.
I mean, for Mike there to have just gone on with another, say, 20 or 30 points.
Have a 70 lead at the table in position.
And to be at the table at the interval and come back and have the chance to, really make a big break at the beginning of the second session.
Sourav's going to take his time here.
Yeah,
he definitely wants to hold the table.
Definitely.
Nothing else matters at this stage.
That's right. Yeah. It's so
very
surprising.
Competitive session of snooker, billiards, David. How dare I say that word?
Not here. We took all the snooker balls out of the room before the.
Sure you did. I'm absolutely sure.
Before the.
Did you
before
burn
the
them?
tournament started?
Or crush them?
But not only did we take all the snooker balls out of the room, Neil, we also took all the triangles out of the room. So anybody who the snooker just doesn't exist in RACV land for this week.
Absolutely love it. I'm only laughing because it's 100% true.
Tasked by Anna Lynch, who's going back into the room. She'll probably be starting her semi-final fairly soon in the women's championship. She had a look of determination on her face, and after a good performances here in the in the World Billiards Championship, where she won a match and pushed Joe Manici, led Joe for over an hour in their match. Made a nice 57 break in beating Zach Gujar.
I saw the 57.
It's
fantastic to see.
So, you know, she's playing some really lovely billiards, been practicing hard here at the RACV, and she'll be very excited at the opportunity to play in a World Championship, which she's only done once before in the IBSF World Championship in Adelaide in 2015. So, you know, great opportunity for her. She loves billiards. She's a very good player. She's a great ambassador for the game, and there's a rumour going around that she's the sister of our producer here, Dan Lynch, but that rumour has been dispelled in more recent times.
Well, Sourav's completed his task here, David.
Yep.
He's held the table. He's not going to leave the balls in great position.
No,
he won't play this shot. He will not play this shot. Time's up.
Well, what you might not realise,
no, it's not,
Neil, is that we're not going. They're not going off the clock that we're looking at. They had a bit of a break, and so the official
running,
clock, is.
We might have a couple of minutes
left. There may be a couple of minutes left, yeah. So I think you'd be quite happy actually to get that shot out of the way and to get a good result, because that was one that, you know, could go wrong, and it's not really the sort of shot you want to have at the beginning of a session.
He's got the bashing off red after this white, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Ooh,
that's okay. That'll be good.
Didn't quite bring it up to the...
will it? Yeah, he's going to bash in off the red bit.
Just getting another wave.
The danger here, David, is that the red contacts the white on the way back.
Yeah, these guys have got so much class. They actually control the direction of the bell's gone. So there we go. 541 to 514. Pretty low scoring in that.
If we were dyslexic, David, scores would be level.
That's exactly right. But now we're going to have a 15-minute break.
Is that all?
That's all. And then the first session of the other semi-final comes on. Another 15-minute break. Or possibly 20 minutes, and then we'll be back on with through. So it's pretty well continuous here through till about 10:30 tonight. And Sourav just left himself with a. I think he would have rather have gotten off that red before the bell rang. But it'll have 10 or 15 minutes to think about it. So they're packing up their cues. The players will go back up to their rooms and just relax, possibly have a little lie down, and then come back fine. Essentially even Stevens for the second.
So Gilchrist Causer in 15 minutes.
Gilchrist Causer coming up in a few minutes' time, and what a fantastic game that is.
Fabulous.
Two of the most dynamic players on the world scene. Quite contrast in styles, but they've each won 3 world championships between them, and I suspect you'll see some faster scoring in that semi-final than we saw that. Yeah. So great to
lovely to have the opportunity to talk, David. Really enjoyed it.
David Pitt signing off now from RACV, and we'll be back in a few minutes with the first session of the second semi-final. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, we'll measure it. Parallel?
Yes.
Where?
Can't see with my glasses on. Yeah, 170. 1.7 exactly.
107, was it?
No, 170. 1.7 litres. 170. Not 170, 1.7 litres. That's it. Okay, so right for the middle. Okay, 5. Exactly keeping it. 4 7. Okay. Thank you.